Wow. Hey, pura vida. Much love and respect to everybody that's tuned in. Thank you for tuning in once again. May you be blessed. Hope you're doing well. So today I just wanted to go over the background of Hellenistic teachings, Hellenism, its connection to Hermetics and Christianity, because we've been seeing that was a major influence at the time, and the two sanctions that were, going to war with each other as these Hellenistic Greeks, along with the ones that had converted, the Jews that had converted to Hellenism, against those who were trying to really keep the Torah, the Hebrew customs and traditions, and follow the law, right? The code. What is this Hellenistic teachings? How does it become eventually or influence Christianity? Because remember, this is what the Arios, Piso family, and the Seleucid Empire and all these people were trying to push on the Jews, okay? On the Hebrews, on Israelites. So we're gonna follow the bird. Yeah, the bird, the Ibis, or as they call him, Hermes in Greek. And as you see here, the emerald tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean, huh? The Atlantean, huh? What's up with that Paleo Hebrew on that emerald tablet right there? The jade, right? Jade, where it's very abundant in Mesoamerica and the Americas, right? The Maya, all these people had it. The southeastern U.S. people had it. All over the Americas, a lot of jade. The history of this supposedly emerald tablet, are you telling me it was real? Well, according to Hermetic Tradition, because we're going to go into Hellenistic teachings, right? Where does it come from? It comes from Hermetic Tradition. So see, the emerald tablet, also known as the Sparadigni tablet or tabula smaragdina, is compact and cryptic piece of the Hermetica, reputed to contain the secret of the prima materia and its transmutation. It was highly regarded by European alchemists, all right? Alchemy and Hermetics, Hellenistic views, all that is all connected. That's why I keep mentioning it. As the foundation of their art and its Hermetic tradition, the original source of the emerald tablet is unknown, although Hermes Trismegistus is the author named in the text. All right, when they're talking about the Hermetica text, they say, who wrote the emerald tablet? They said it was Hermes Trismegistus. We're going to see who this guy is. What is his relationship to Thoth? Why is Thoth being also credited with the emerald tablets, huh? Continuing, says the first known appearance in a book written in Arabic between the 6th and 8th centuries. So the first people to bring this out was Arab people, Arabs. What does that have to do with Arabs and Islam? Well, basically, this is where they're getting their Hermetic tradition, right? Hope you're following along. Says here, the central figure in the mythology of alchemy is Hermes Trismegistus, or thrice great Hermes. His name is derived from the god Thoth, and his Greek counterpart Hermes. Hermes and his caduceus, or serpent staff, were among alchemy's principal symbols, according to Clement of Alexandria, right? Greek. He wrote what were called the 40 Book of Hermes, covering all fields of knowledge. The Hermetic of thrice great Hermes is generally understood to form the basis of Western alchemical philosophy and practice, called the Hermetic Philosophy. Okay, listen, by early practitioners. These writings were collected in the first centuries of the Common Era. The Hermetic literature among the Egyptians was concerned with conjuring spirits and animating statues. Say what? Yeah, conjuring spirits and animating statues, okay? And formed the oldest Hellenistic writings. Hellenistic is the same thing. Hellenistic writings on Greco-Babylonian astrology and on the newly developed practice of alchemy. And parallel tradition, Hermetic philosophy rationalized and systematized religious cult practices. People started getting into this religious mind frame when they started going with the Hermetic philosophy, getting stuck in a religious cult mindset, religious cult practices, and offered and added a means of personal ascension from the constraints of physical being. This latter tradition has led to the confusion of Hermetism with Gnosticism, which was developing contemporarily. All right, it says here the Hermetica, the lost wisdom of the pharaohs, The Hermetica is a category of papyri containing spells and initiatory induction procedures. All right, the lost Hermetica. The dialogue called the Asclepios, after the Greek god of healing, Asclepios. This is his image right here. Look at that. This is Jesus. Oh yeah, early stages of it. I'm trying to show you something here. Describes the art of imprisoning the souls of demons or of angels and statues with the help of herbs, gems, and odors, so that the statue could speak and engage in prophecy. In other papyri, there are recipes for constructing such images and animating them, such as when images are to be fashioned hollow so as to enclose a magic name inscribed on gold leaf. Okay, so this is, again, we're going through the background of what these Greek Hellenistic people, the ones who were fighting the Hebrews, Israelites, what they were trying to push on them, these belief systems, this coming out of Thoth, Hermes, Hermetics. Okay, go check my Thoth video for the full breakdown. Okay, but we're just trying to get a little background here. We're gonna be talking about Serapis. Okay, again, this is general knowledge that you can research. I'm reading from Wikipedia. These are screenshots from my Thoth video. So I know, trust me, just going over a background, but you can research all this on reading. And a lot of this has footnotes that you can verify the sources with, even in Wikipedia. Now it says here, many Christian writers. All right, we're getting to the part now. What does all this have to do with Christianity, Kurimeo? That sounds so pagan. All right, many Christian writers, including Lactantius, Augustine, Giordano Bruno, Marsilio Ficino, Campanella, and Giovanni Pico della Mirandola, considered Hermes Trismegistus to be a wise pagan prophet who foresaw the coming of Christianity. Right, and the sources for that, right? These people, all these famous pre-Christian philosophers, quoted that, saying he was the wise pagan prophet Hermes, Thoth, who foresaw the coming of Christianity, They believed in a prisca theologia, the doctrine that a single true theology exists, which threads through all religions. It was given by God to man in antiquity. All right? What God? Who's God? Who are they talking about? Remember, and who's the Logos? Who's the Ancient of Ancients? A lot of the times, they ain't talking about the Most High. Trust me. And passed through a series of prophets, which included Zoroaster and Plato. So look at their prophets. This is an example. All right, that's their prophets, Zoroaster and Plato. In order to demonstrate the verity of the Prisca Theologia, Christians, all right, Christians, what is Christians? The first Christians appropriated their Hermetic teachings for their own purposes. By this account, Hermes Trismegistus was either a contemporary of Moses or in third line of a man named Hermes, Enoch, Noah, an Egyptian priest king who was known to us as Hermes Trismegistus, all right? On account of being the greatest priest, philosopher, and king, all right? This is their, G-O-D. This is their Ancient of Ancients. I'm trying to tell you, all right? And what? Influencing Christianity? Appropriated the Hermetic teachings for their own purposes? Here in late antiquity, Hermetism emerged in parallel with early Christianity, Gnosticism, Neoplatonism, and Chaldean oracles, and late Orphic and Pythagorean literature. Now down here, I just wanted to read, it says, these post-Christian Greek texts dwell upon the oneness and goodness of God, urge purification of the soul, and defend pagan religious practices such as the veneration of images. All right, this is when they make it okay to make their little images and have their little gods and put them on the walls and everything. Their predominant literary form is the dialogue. Hermes Trismegistus instructs a perplexed disciple upon various teachings of the hidden wisdom, Hidden wisdom, Hidden from who? Were you supposed to have it and pass it around? All right, so out of those Hermetic teachings, right, it culminates into their great empire, the Greeks, and then their takeover of other lands. So those Hermetic teachings that they were bringing to other people, that's what they were calling Hellenism or Hellenistic views, meaning Greek views. Hellenistic period, it says here, right? The Hellenistic period spans the period of Mediterranean history between the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC and the emergence of the Roman Empire, as signified by the Battle of Actium in 31 BC. So that's the hijack on the chronology, that's that's debated. And the conquest of Ptolemaic Egypt the following year. The period of Greece prior to the Hellenistic era is known as Classical Greece, while the period afterwards is known as the Roman Greece. The ancient Greek word Hellas, right, was originally the widely recognized name of Greece, right, Hellas, from which the word Hellenistic was derived. Hellenistic is distinguished from Hellenic in that the first encompasses all territories under direct ancient Greek influence, while the latter refers to Greece itself. Instead, the term Hellenistic refers to that which is influenced by Greek culture, in this case, the East after the conquest of Alexander the Great. All right, so major Greek influence and culture that's being passed over to people, and people are calling it Hellenistic or Greek, right? We're going to get into a little bit more deep into the etymology. Compared to the Enlightenment of the Greek classical era, the Hellenistic period saw the rise of new comedy, Alexandrian poetry, the Septuagint. The Septuagint where? In Hellenistic Greece, right? And the philosophies of Stoicism, okay? So see what all that's coming up right now in this Hellenistic Greece, Epicureanism, all right? And Philhonism. Greek science was advanced by the works of the mathematician Euclid and the polymath Archimedes. The religious spheres expanded to include new gods such as the Greco-Egyptian, all right, listen, Greco-Egyptian Serapis. We're going to get to Serapis, all right? Serapis. Uh-oh, look at that girl. Look at that face, Serapis. All right, we're going to get to that. Eastern deities such as Attis and Cybele, and syncretism between Hellenistic culture and Buddhism in Bactria and Northwest India. How does it compare to Buddhism? After Alexander the Great's invention of the Achaemenid Empire in 330 BC and its disintegration shortly after, the Hellenistic kingdoms were established throughout Southwest Asia. Seleucid Empire, the Kingdom of Pergamon, right? Remember the Seleucids were the ones warring with the Maccabeans, right? The Hebrews, trying to force their Hellenistic religion and Hermetic religion onto them, and their gods, the Hellenistic gods, onto them. All right, so I want to talk about Antioch, ancient Antioch, we'll say Hellenistic city. Antioch was founded near the end of the 4th century by Seleucus I Nicator, one of Alexander the Great's generals. The city was the capital of the Seleucid Empire, all right, the Seleucid Empire, until 63 BC when the Romans took control, making it the seat of the governor of the province of Syria. So it was the Seleucid Empire, Hellenized Greeks, and then the Romans came over. From the early 4th century, the city was the seat of the Count of the Orient, head of the regional administration of 16 provinces. It was also the main center of Hellenistic Judaism. What? The main place where they were starting their hijack, converting Hebrews into convincing them to let go of their old ways and become Hellenistic Jews. Judaism, Hellenistic Judaism, the main center. At the end of the Second Temple period, Antioch was one of the most important cities in the Eastern Mediterranean, half of the Roman Empire. Now look at this. Antioch was called the cradle of Christianity. So it was the center of Hellenistic Judaism, where they were practicing their Hermetism, right? They were spreading that to the Hebrews or the Jews, right? The Hermetic teachings. Thoth and Hermes, right? Antioch was called the cradle of Christianity, The cradle of Christianity, That's where it started, where all these Hellenistic Greeks were, where the Hellenistic Jews, where their main center was. That's where Christianity started, huh? And it played a pivotal role in the emergence of both Hellenistic Judaism and early Christianity, okay? Antioch, that's where it was. The Christian New Testament asserts that the name Christian first emerged in Antioch. The first so-called Christians, quotes, Christians, what was in Antioch? That was a Hellenistic city. That was a Hellenistic Hermetic city, basically. Hermes, Thoth. So the Seleucids reigned from Antioch. I remember they were once warring with the Maccabeans. All right. We know little of it in the Hellenistic period, apart from Syria. All our information comes from authors of the late Romans, all right, Idumeans. Remember, Maccabees. What's the Maccabees? Were a group of Jewish rebel warriors who took control of Judea, which at that time was part of the Seleucid Empire. They were down in Judea. Their main center was Antioch. They were bringing their Hermetic teachings, and their Hellenized Jews were backing them up. They founded the Hasmonean dynasty, right? So they founded the Hasmonean dynasty to fight back this Seleucid Empire. A little bit of the background again says Judea had initially come under Ptolemaic rule, but fell to the Seleucids around 200 BC. Judea at that time had been affected by the Hellenization initiated by Alexander the Great. Some Jews, mainly those of the urban upper class, notably the Tobiite family, wished to dispense the Jewish law and to adopt a Greek lifestyle. Look at that. The ones who sold out were the upper class, always, huh? Always the rich, selling out for the money, rich, huh? They wanted to adopt a Greek lifestyle, the Hermetic teachings. According to the historian Victor Terikoulos, the main motives for the Tobiites' Hellenism was economic and political. They sold out for politics and money. The Hellenizing Jews built a gymnasium in Jerusalem, competed in international Greek games, removed their marks of circumcision, and repudiated the Holy Covenant. You see what happened? You see how they sold out? This is what they wanted all Hebrews to do, all the Israelites, everybody. This is what they wanted to do, all right? That's why there was rebels like Eliezer. Now going back to the word Hella, right, for Hellenistic, they're saying, they're getting the word, right? Pertaining to Greece from 1640s though, from Greek Hellenikos, Hellenic Greek, from Hellen, a Greek, a word of unknown origin, they say, huh? Traditionally though, from the name of an eponymous ancestor, Hellen, son of Deucalion. To Homer, the Hellenes were a small tribe in the southern Thessaly, all right? They're a specific people, you see this? So Hellen, right? It says in Greek mythology, Hellen is the eponymous progenitor of the Hellenes. He is the child of Deucalion and Pyrrha and the father of three sons, Doris, Sutrus, Aeolus, by whom he is the ancestor of the Greeks people. So he's the son of Deucalion. Who's Deucalion? Let me show you this, all right? So again, Hellen was the son of Deucalion. Who's Deucalion? Or sometimes Zeus, all right? Sometimes Zeus. Deucalion is Zeus, right? Zeus. Zeus, right? In Greek religion, king of the gods, right? The Roman equivalent of Jupiter. Jupiter is Zeus. Look at the statues. It's the early Jesus, I'm telling you, all right? That same mug became the prototype to make the image. Now, this says here, Zeus was also infamous for his erotic escapades. These resulted in many divine and heroic offspring, including Athena, Apollo, Hermes, Hermes. Hermes. So Hermes is the son of a god, right? Of the main god, son of a god, son of God, Hermes, Thoth, and also Dionysus. We're going to see later Dionysus is Serapis and Bacchus. Dionysus is Hermes. Hermes is Thoth. Mostly they're all the same people or epithets. They're just changing the names. All right, you see? Hermes, the son of God, and Dionysus. Pay attention to that. The Zeus again was identified with the Roman Jupiters, the same person. Jupiter and Iesus. He, along with Dionysus, absorbed the role of the chief Phrygian. All right, he is Dionysus too. It says the Seleucid ruler. Look at this. Now the Seleucids are into play again. Here goes the Seleucids. Now that we know who they are, right? The Seleucid ruler Antiochus, who invaded Jerusalem and slaughtered many people there, right? Erected a statue of Zeus Olympius in the Judean temple in Jerusalem. See, the Athenian he tried to make everybody worship Zeus or Bacchus or Dionysus. You're going to see that, right? We read that already. The Seleucid ruler, Antioch, he did what? He put Zeus in the temple. All right? He put Zeus in the temple. Who? The Seleucids. Yes, the Seleucids, same ones who established the main center of the Hellenistic Jews and the early establishments of Christianity, where the early Christians came out of. These same Seleucids did that. Now it says here, Zeus and the sun. Oh yeah, Jesus. Remember what the word Jesus in Ojibwe means? It means the sun, or the night sun, which is the moon. Helios, okay? Just like Thoth is the moon and sun. Osiris, Isis. All right, so I want to remind you of 2 Maccabees 6. What did we read there in the last video? Right? The suppression of Judaism. What happened? Not long after this, the king sent an Athenian senator. The Athenian senator, who? Antioch? To compel the Jews to forsake the laws of their ancestors and no longer live by the laws of God. All right? Also to pollute the temple in Jerusalem, to call it the temple of the Olympian Zeus. Yes, we're talking about Antioch. Right? They brought his Zeus over there. His Zeus. Now look what it says down here. It says, on the monthly celebration of the king's birthday, the Jews were taken under bitter constraint. This is once a month they had to do this, to partake of the sacrifices. And when a festival of Dionysus was celebrated, they were compelled to wear wreaths of ivy to walk in the procession in honor of Dionysus. Even though you think you're just reading a Bible story, this is real history. They sent an Athenian and they made them worship their gods. They were making them worship their gods. Nothing has changed. So this is what they brought in the temple in Jerusalem. This Seleucid king, this Athenian senator, as they call him in the Bible. This is the image he put there of his god Zeus, which goes back to their Hermetic beliefs, to their Hellenistic views. Greek, which is Hermetics, basically, going back all the way, tying you back to Thoth, tying you to this trickster. And this is the image they wanted people to worship, like an early prototype of an image they were going to use in Christianity. Again, this is a statue of Jupiter, same thing. So this is what they would be putting in the temple in Jerusalem. And you see the eagle, right? Already know. Look at the quarter. Look at your quarter, your coin. Do you see the eagle? Yeah. Iesus. Iesus in Greek could mean Hail Zeus. Literally. Iesus means Hail Zeus. It's the Greek for Jesus. Hail Zeus, huh? Mythology, huh? Uh-oh, somebody knows. I told you in the beginning of the video, follow the bird. The bird had EBs, huh? So again, this is what the Maccabees were fighting. This is what they were trying to push on the Hebrew people during this time that we're reading about, the early creations with Arius, Piso, and all these people were living on. Yeah, the Pisos were living during this time where they were trying to make Israelites, ancient Hebrews who were following customs like Eliezer, and a wise, old, noble, prestige, holy, high priest, of the Hebrews there. He was trying to go against this. This is what they were trying to make you worship, right? This is what they were trying to make you worship. This was the early stages of it. The Hermetics, Greek philosophy, going back to Hermes. It's only going to link you back to the bird, right? And the biggest trickster of all. All right, so now I want to get into this book real quick, just to correlate a little bit what I'm trying to say about Hellenistic and what it means and what they were trying to push on people. This book is the theological and philosophical works of Hermes Trismegistus, Christian Neoplatonist, Christian Neoplatonist, translated from the original Greek with preface notes and indices, right? So these are supposed to be a lot of the writings from Hermes Trismegistus that are translated. This is by John David Chambers of Oriel College, Oxford, recorder of New Sarum, with thrice great Hermes. All right, this is one of their gods. This is from 1882, so they feel good writing about this stuff. Real quick, just in the preface right here, it says, preface, the Mercurius or Mercury, right? He is also Mercury, the trickster. So Hermes is Thoth, who's Mercury, the trickster. All right, we got that in my Thoth videos. Hermes Trismegistus of legend was a personage of Egyptian sage or succession of sages. All right, he was Egyptian. It ain't Greek stuff. Who since the time of Plato had been identified with the Thoth. He's Thoth. This is what I'm trying to tell you. This is how far back this goes. The name of the month, September, of that people. This Thoth is the reputed author of the ritual of the dead, or as styled in Egyptian phraseology, the manifestation of light to the soul, who through it declared the will of the gods in plural, and the mysterious nature of divine things to man. Dr. Pichman, in his work on Hermes, which exclusively treads on this subject, gives a list of authorities for these facts, ranging from Plato down to Seleucid, circa 790. He states, however, that by the time that the so-called hermeneutical writings were collected together, the identity of Hermes with Thoth was forgotten. By that time, they're saying, and Thoth became his son Tad and Asclepius. All right. So you see what I was saying earlier, that the son is the same as the father, right? The son is the same as the father, right? Just like in Christianity, the son is the father. Okay. A lot of the time they're epithets, they're just duplicates. And as they're saying here, it's the same people. Asclepius, we saw already what he looked like. He looked just like Zeus too, his disciple, both of whom he instructs in the writings now translated. So supposedly Hermes is talking to Thoth and Asclepius. Subsequently, Pichman informs us, quoting Latrone, that the epithet Trismegistus appears first in the 2nd century of the Christian era, and that before that period, Hermes was designated by the repetition of the, and I don't know, only as the Rosetta Stone. He was considered to be the impersonation of religion. All right. What? He's what? Who? Hermes, Thoth. Thoth is what? The impersonation of religion. Who brought you religion? Who brought you religion? Zeus, Thoth. Hey, Zeus, who brought you religion, art, learning, and sacerdotal discipline of the Egyptian priesthood? He was, by several of the fathers, in modern times, by 3 of his earliest editors, supposed to have existed before the time of Moses, and to have obtained the appellation of thrice greatest from his threefold learning and rank of philosopher, priest, and king, and that of Hermes or Mercurius as messenger. I remember how we break down what messenger, an angel is also a messenger. Angelos in Greek means messenger. Angelos, angel, is a messenger. Hermes, Thoth is an angel. Oh, could these be falling angels? Oh, it gets deep. An authoritative interpreter of divine things. He's an authoritative interpreter. Remember, he was the one in between. In the hieroglyphics, he like Horus. Just like Horus, he's the sun. Just like Horus, Osiris, Isis, and Horus, the Trinity. Just like Horus, he is represented by a bird. He is the bird. I told you, follow the bird. Follow the bird with a hawk's head. And to him was sacred the Ibis and the moon. The moon, the night moon, Jesus. Remember, Jesus in Ojibwe means night sun, which is moon. This Hermes, and there was but one among the ancient Egyptians. There was one, was worshipped by a god, as a god by them. So he was alive, but he was worshipped like a god, as a living god, just like a Caesar. All right, so just real quick, we don't want to get too much of this book because it's all there, philosophy, right, as they call it. So this is the Poemandres, and this is in chapter 1. Before I read that a little bit, it says that the Poemandres, also known as Poemandres, is the first tractate in the Corpus Hermeticum. It says here the character Poemandres can be considered to be a sort of deity. So this is a god or attribute of God, or as nous, or mind, as expressed in the following translation. Now look how this reads. It says, thought in me, A, becoming on time concerning the entities, and by meditation, having been exceedingly sublime, and my bodily senses all calmed down, like of those oppressed in sleep from satiety, luxury, or fatigue of body. All right. It says, I say, thou then, who art thou? I indeed. He says, I'm Poemandres, the mind. I am the mind of the supreme power. I know what thou wishes. So he says, I know what thou wishes, and I am everywhere with thee. He is everywhere. Who? This deity, and he's your mind. I say, I wish to learn the entities and to understand the nature of them and to know the God. This, I said, I wish to hear. He says to me again, have in thy mind whatsoever things thou wildest learn, and I will teach thee. Who's talking to who here? Right? A little further down, again, I'm not going to read much. I want you guys to see what's in here. It says, but the luminous word out of mind, Son of God. Son of God. What then? This is Hermes, right? This is before Christianity. Son of God. What then? I say, know thus, that in thee seeing and hearing is word of the Lord, but the mind Father God, for they are not distinct from each other, for the union of these is the life. I thank thee, I said, but understand the light and become acquainted with that. He says, a little bit more further down, we just read a little, said, but the mind, the God, being masculine, feminine, originating, life and light begat, by word another mind, creator, who being God of the fire and spirit, created some 7 administrators, encompassing in circles the sensible world, and their administration is called fate. All right, so you see what's going on here? So this is the kind of stuff that they were trying to push onto the Hebrews, right, and other people. And this is, again, this is a sugar-coated version. As we read earlier, they were doing spirit incantations and a lot of alchemical practices, you know, and that leads to this other source of so-called science or magic. But the creator mind alone with the word, that encompassing the circles and making them revolve with the force, turned about its own creations and permitted them to be turned about from an indefinite beginning to the interminable end, for they begin everywhere they end. Man. All right, so this is just a little bit of what I wanted you guys to see. All right, so yeah, I just wanted you to get like an idea of what they were kind of going around with. The Greeks, you know, they're sugarcoating that, but some of the images, symbology, in Hermetics, there's a whole book, the Hermetica. You know, you guys can go look it up. You know, I wouldn't, you know, I don't mess around with this stuff because this is what I'm trying to tell you. This is where you get your Freemasonry, all your symbologies. Remember the veneration of images, making it okay. Look at Thoth up here. You see Thoth with the balance. You see Thoth up here. Hermes Trigamestus. This is Hermetics. Homo Solaris. Remember, Zeus is the sun. Jesus is the sun and the moon. You see the X is the cross, is the Christ, the Iesus. You understand? The all-seeing eye. This is Hermetics. You understand? Right. So these are the kind of images you find in Hermetics. Look at the phoenix, phoenix, the aquila or the aguila or the eagle. So you see, this is Hermetics, the Hellenistic teachings, and a lot of these teachings got put into Christianity. So this is what Piso and all these people were pushing on the Hebrews. All right, so if you're down with this whole Hermetic thing, the Hellenistic stuff, and you know you want to convert to that and let go of the code, and you know forget the first commandment and also second, I believe, no images, right? No idols. You know, don't be doing that. Don't be doing all this. You know, what is all this stuff? So this is kind of what they were pushing, the Pisos, right? So creating Christianity for them is just continuation. You know what I'm talking about? The hijack, right? The fake Iesus. I'm not talking about an Israelite prophet, right? I'm not talking about a deliverer who delivered his people to Jerusalem. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about their creation, their Zeus, their Jesus, Dionysus, their Serapis, their Thoth, their Hermes, literally. Okay, Hermetics. All right, so now we're going to get real quick into Serapis. I mentioned this in my Thoth videos. He's known as the Good Shepherd. I've broken down how the Good Shepherd was Hermes Christophorus too. He was the Good Shepherd, and a lot of people called the Good Shepherd before Jesus. The same statue of him carrying the lamb over his shoulder was, you know, existed way before the story of Jesus. All right, so it says here Serapis, which is Osiris or Apis, right? A combination of the god Osiris and Apis. So Serapis is Osiris, all right? Osiris and Isis and Horus is the Trinity. That's all related to Thoth, okay? It says a Greco-Egyptian deity, Serapis, right? The cult of Serapis was pushed forward during the 3rd century BC on the orders of Greek pharaoh Ptolemy, the first soter of the Lemaya kingdom, and Egypt as a means to unify the Greeks and Egyptians in his realm. A Serapeum was any temple or religious precinct devoted to Serapis. The cultus of Serapis was spread as a matter of deliberate policy by the Ptolemaic kings. Serapis continued to increase in popularity during the Roman Empire. Okay, that's when we get into the Vespasians and the Pisos, all right? The Pisos and the Flavians, they worship Serapis, often replacing Osiris as the consort of Isis. He was even Osiris, basically. In the temple outside Egypt, he is Osiris. Get it? Serapis was depicted as Greek in appearance, but with Egyptian trappings, and combined iconography from a great many cults signifying both abundance and resurrection. Resurrection, Serapis resurrection, who also does set resurrections, though Ptolemy I may have created the official cult of Serapis and endorsed him as a patron of the Ptolemaic dynasty and Alexandria. Serapis was a syncretistic deity derived from the worship of the Egyptian Osiris and Apis, and also gained attributes from other deities such as chronic powers linked to Greek Hades, Demeter, and benevolence linked to Dionysus. All right, Dionysus. So real quick, Dionysus. All right, it says he is also known as Bacchus or Bacchus. All right, or Dionysus. Dionysus. Who? Serapis, right? Serapis is Dionysus. Serapis is Dionysus. And again, 2 Maccabees 6, what they were trying to do? Once a month, they were making the Jews take under bitter constraint to partake of the sacrifices. They're talking about the Hellenistic Hermetic stuff, right? Worshipping their god Zeus and all that, and Serapis. How do you know? Well, and when a festival of Dionysus was celebrated, they were compelled to wear wreaths of iron to walk in the procession in honor of Dionysus. Just like Catholics and Mary and carry the cross in all these processions, it's the same thing. Again, Dionysus, all right, is Serapis, look at this grill, is Iesus, is Zeus, is Jupiter, goes back to Hermes, goes back to Thoth, Serapis, is Zeus, Serapis, and it is Iesus. It is the prototype. Who are you really worshiping when you're talking about Iesus? So real quick, we're in the Oxford Journals, Oxford University Press. It says here, Pagan Elements of Christianity and the Significance of Jesus. It says source Demonis, April 1902, volume 12, Oxford University Press. Again, Pagan Elements of Christianity and the Significance of Jesus. The ideas of a Christ in Christianity existed before Jesus, and the Christianity of the church was one form only of Christianity among many others, and that many other Christianities existed is evident from the fact that the various Christ conceptions which are offered in both canonical and apocryphal books, not to mention the innumerable pagan saviors and redeemers gods such as Hermes, Hercules, Aesculapius, which is Hermes, Mithras, same thing, etc., and men such as Apollonius and Tiana. We must bear in mind that the traditions are still extant, are only isolated debris saved by accident from the general deluge of all non-Christian religions. All right, since we're talking about Serapis, I wanted to come to this part of the article. It says, we learned through Sosthenes and Socrates, the church historian, that the cross was used as a prominent symbol, probably the Egyptian cruz ansata, the key of life, and the temple of Serapis. The cross was there in the temple of Serapis, and Emperor Hadrian writes in a letter to the Council Servianus, right? This is historic. This is a primary source. He said this. Emperor Hadrian, you can verify this. Those who worship Serapis are Christians, and those who are especially consecrated to Serapis call themselves the bishops of Christ. All right, the early Christians were followers of Serapis. This is before Christianity was established. These are the first people calling themselves Christians. Serapis, remember what he looked like? The Reverend Robert Taylor, in his Diegesis, page 205, believes that the use of the word Christ is a confusion due to the fear of persecution, and that many Christians, to escape martyrdom, profess to be Serapis worshippers. But the case is the reverse. Not Christians call themselves Serapis worshippers, but Serapis worshippers claim to be Christians, all right? Serapis was first. It's not the other way around. The emperor's expression does not admit the interpretation that the name Christian was disowned, and we have only the choice that either there was a confusion of these two religions in the mind of the emperor, or there was actually a class of people in Egypt who worshiped Serapis under the name of Christ. Serapis is the god of other world, the life to come. The word is a contraction of Osiris Apis, Auzar Hapi. Example, the Apis as Osiris, and he was worshipped as Lord of the Dead. The Serapis cult was a Hellenized Jews, right? The Seleucians. Oh, we go back to the Macedonians. Oh yeah, we go back to the Athenians who were trying to bring Serapis, right? He put Serapis face, Zeus, aka Dionysus, right, in the Judean temple, and he had people partake in the procession to Serapis. Okay, that's what they were making the Israelites do. All right, this Hellenized form of the ancient Osiris worship introduced by King Ptolemy Soter for the purpose of reconciling his Greek and Egyptian subjects. A monastery was connected with the Separium at Memphis, as we know from papyri found at the spot, and Christian monks adopted some features of the habits of these monks of Serapis. Okay? It is certainly not accidental that the institutions of Christian monks originated in Egypt. Christianity, as the faith of the church, is a belief in Jesus of Nazareth as the Christ, and the life of Jesus, as told in the Gospels, has exercised a paramount influence upon the formation of the creed. Nevertheless, several of its main ideas were added to from other sources. Christianity is not pure Jesuism. Christianity is the religious life of the pre-Christian ages, focused around the idealized figure of Jesus. Jesuism is the dominant fact of Christianity, but some of the rays collected from other quarters are not merely accessory. All right, a little further down it says the Trinity, or rather triunity of God, which is nowhere mentioned in the New Testament, was even in its purest form quite common among the philosophers in the age of Jesus. Thus, for instance, the Chronicon Alexander explains the name Hermes Trismegistus, who in Egyptian mythology is Thoth, the scribe of the gods. He is regarded as the revealer of divine mysteries and a shepherd or pastor of mankind. Shepherd, huh? Thereupon it proceeds to make the following statement. Hermes declared that there are three greatest powers, but he said that the name of the ineffable in the world-building God consisted in one divinity. Therefore, he was called by the Egyptians thrice greatest Hermes. The thrice greatest does not mean the triple greatest, but it indicates a reference for the number three. The quotation proves, however, that the name Hermes Trismegistus and the Trinity doctrine of Hermetic literature, all right? Trinity doctrine comes from Hermetic literature, all right? The Trinity comes from Hermetic literature. It must be older than the Chronicon Alexandrium, but there is a strong probability that this notion, as well as other ideas set forth in the divine Pymander of Hermes Trismegistus, have been derived from an ancient Egyptian sources. I'm in another article here. It's called Serapis Bukoloi and Christians, from Hadrian to Marcus Aurelius. Right, so this is an academia.edu, great site for great scholarly articles. All right, most of these articles you can verify the information. All right, and it's talking about, again, Serapis calling the Christians. It says this paper will take into consideration the role of Egyptian gods, in particular Serapis, in the religious life of Egypt, from the end of the reign of Trajan to the reign of Marcus Aurelius, and will explore the possible overlaps between the cult of Serapis and the rites of Christianity. The documents will be tested on the hypothesis that Hadrian's religious policy of pluralism gave the early Christian communities an opportunity to flourish. Okay? The Diaspora Revolt in AD 116-117 had implications and repercussions that affected Egyptian religion. A rebellion in Judea was provoked by the dedication of a statue to Jupiter Serapis. All right? Remember, they put that statue there in their temple, Jupiter Serapis. Who? Serapis. That's who they were making. Jupiter is Zeus. I told you guys, it's all the same people. By the Legio III of Lucius Quietus, and the Historia Augusta talks about a Jewish revolt generated by a conflict over the finding of the body of the Apis bull in Egypt. Serapis or Osirapis, a fusion of Osiris and the Apis bull, was basically the sacred bull of the Memphis after his death, a combination god that had existed in Egypt since Pharaonic times as a god of the underworld and a symbol of the annual resurrection of nature. Under the Ptolemies, Apis was assimilated or associated to various Hellenistic deities. All right, it was the same people as what, including Zeus, Helios, Dionysus. All right, so when they put that statue of Dionysus, it's Serapis too. Okay, it's Zeus. It's all the same. Hades. All right, Hades. All right, Hades and Asclepius to form Serapis. They all formed Serapis. Like together we are. So they made a super god, right? A super Iesus, a Hellenized god of the sun, Helios, fertility, Dionysus, the underworld and healing, Asclepius and Hades, who ended up being the most popular god in Egypt and the patron deity of the city of Alexandria. Beginning of Christianity. It says faithlenders.weebly.com. It says the word Christian is Greek and was formerly a pagan usage as early as 200 BC. There were pagan worshippers of Serapis that called themselves Christians. There already were Christians in Egypt, Gnostic sun worshippers, Jesus sun worshippers. And Egypt, what Egypt? Ancient Egypt, the Mississippi, Ojibwe, Jesus, huh? What are we really talking about? Who knelt before the huge onyx resembles the Christian cross with a loop above the transfer bar. The Serapis Iesus cult used this symbol at Alexandria. When the Emperor Hadrian rode from Alexandria, he said, "Those who worship Serapis are Christians, and those who call themselves bishops of Christ are vowed to Serapis." Ancient Babylonian influences abounded them and abound now hidden in plain sight. Alexandria was the primary launching point for the new fusion religion we know as Christianity today. The word Christos is directly related to Krishna, Christos, and Krishtan. These literally mean shining, as they refer to the sun. Krishna is the sun deity in the Hindu religion. And real quick, rivers of life, or sources and streams of the faiths of man in all lands, showing the evolution of faiths from the rooted symbolism to the latest spiritual developments by Major General J.G.R. Forlong. This is from 1883, Volume 1. Page 504, and it says here that Serapis has also furnished to Christianity the ideas and portraits of its Christ. The ideas and portrait, the image, the idea of Christ, and especially of that earliest of the Christian world. The fine emerald intaglio in the Cathedral of Moscow, the priceless gem of the Russian imperial collection. It is said by the churches to have been a present from Pilate to the Emperor Tiberius, but Mr. King says it is reality a head of Serapis. All right, it's not no. You hear what is going on here? It's actually Serapis seen in front and crowned with Persia bows, easily mistaken for thorns. It's not Jesus. You see what they try to do? They try to say it was thorns and it was something else and it was Jesus. It was Serapis. All right, with the Persian bows on his head. Christians, it appears, according to the same learned author, allowed that the earliest emblems of the Savior were the Good Shepherd, the lamb, and the fish. Okay, that's all him, all of which are very Serapian ideas. Okay, and shows us the undoubted source of the two former popular notions of Christ, if not so clearly. The last, for the Talmudic Messiah, was designated Dag or fish as the creature most sacred to the Assyrian goddess Venus Urania, who in this form hid herself from angry typhoon in the Euphrates. On this account, Christians, like Serapians, said that a ring inscribed with a dolphin was a charm to drive away colic. Thousands of Christians adopted also the frog symbol of Egypt because they said it changes from a strange fishy form to that of a quadruped, and they therefore exhibited with snakes on their sacred talismans and shrines, and at the base of the sacred palm they also planted the Serapian cross upon the fish, placing a dove on each arm of the cross and inscribing above and below the name IHCOYC or Jesus in this old form. They had begun to lose the meaning, the anointed or Mahadeva, This is from Greece and Rome, second series, volume 57. Just one more article here from the Cambridge University Press. A healing touch for Empire Vespasian's wonders and Domitianic Rome. Who was Vespasian? Remember Titus Vespasian? He was the one that took over Jerusalem with Josephus Arius Piso. Remember who was Vespasian? Who did he worship? Let me show you. It says here, before Vespasian returned to Rome to take up the reins of imperial government, he reported had a vision in the Serapeum of Alexandria. Remember, the Serapeum was basically the church of Serapis. So this Vespasian, remember, this is the guy who invaded Jerusalem. Remember, this is all happening around the same time. As the new Serapis healed two men, these wonders came to define Vespasian's time in Egypt, and yet for modern readers, their prominence at the story of the emperor's rise to power creates an apparent inconsistency. The same man who on his deathbed joked about his impending divination also apparently played the part of a god at the beginning of his reign. All right, he played the part of a god. Such contradictions are to be expected in the colorful accounts of emperors' lives. In the website Hellenic Faith, all right, on Serapis, it says here, miracles of Serapis. Serapis is said to have performed an abundant amount of miracles, some of the most notable being the divine sanctioning of Emperor Vespasian. This is when they took over Jerusalem. Look, all right, divine sanction of Emperor Vespasian to the imperial throne through favorable omens and instances where Serapis granted the to-be emperor the ability to heal others. So Serapis helped him heal people. He was healing people. Remember, we read already, right, in my last video, what Josephus was writing about Titus Vespasian, the emperor, that he was healing people, just like Jesus was. Healing the eyesight of Demetrius of Phalerum, and cases where he saved people at the sea. So this is very important to our story. Vespasian actually was saying that. And it says here, Vespasian's healing in Vespasianic Rome. Vespasian arrived in Alexandria late November 69, perhaps for the purpose of securing the grain supply as leverage against the Vitellian regiment or to avoid the stain of Roman blood. While his allies laid the military assault on the Vitellians in Italy, during Vespasian's 10-month stay in Egypt, a variety of wonders reportedly occurred. All right, so listen to this. These wonders have received ample scholarly attention. This ain't just Josephus writing this, much of which was focused on the historical significance of these events in the context of Vespasian's rise to the principate. Unfortunately, both the chronological distance between our excellent sources and the wonders and the inevitable reshaping of memory in the intervening time. Although the narrative of these wonders is well known, it bears repeating. Tiberius Julius Alexander, who had led the province of Egypt in proclaiming Vespasian emperor, on July 1st, 69, presented a lavish Aventus reception for him in Alexandria. Vespasian was received in the city as the new Serapis. He's the new God. He's the new son of God, the son, right? Serapis. He's Hermes. He's their new Zeus. Get it? Two Alexandrians, one blind, the other lame, approached the emperor at the tribunal seeking healing at Serapis' command. Vespasian at first rebuffed them, but they persisted, so the emperor, with the encouragement of those around him, made the attempt. All right, so this is what he wrote. Listen to this. This is a primary source. This is what he wrote. A certain commoner who was deprived of his sight and another who was lame together approached Vespasian while he was sitting at the tribunal, imploring him for the cure for their illness that he had been shown them by Serapis as they slept, saying that if Vespasian should spit upon the one, his sight would be restored, and if he should deign to touch the other with his heel, his leg would regain strength. Although Vespasian could scarcely believe that it would succeed by any means, to the point that he dare not even try, at last, with his friends urging him on, he made the attempt publicly before the assembled crowd and was not unsuccessful. So they said he actually healed them. That's what they're saying here. Attached to Suetonius and Tacitus' accounts of these healings is a second Alexandrian wonder. Vespasian spent time alone in the sanctuary of Serapis, and there saw a vision a man named Basilides, who, being detained by illness, was supposedly miles away. Basilides conferred upon Vespasian certain objects, loaves, crowns, and bows that were associated with Ptolemaic royalty. The experience appears to have been a kind of miraculous coronation ceremony. So again, Serapis performed miracles, and he even helped Emperor Vespasian, the guy who took over Jerusalem, the guy who was making the Hebrews, murdering all these people, who Josephus was basically writing as Jesus when he was writing his War of the Jews, making Titus, and then plagiarizing or duplicating what he wrote into the New Testament. And we're going to see as who's credited for writing most of these books, right, in the New Testament. We'll see. You guys already know the answer. Yeah, I'm going to bring it there. I'm going to show you who this guy is. All right. I'm talking about Paul. All right. So that's in the future parts. Again, Serapis, as you can see, he attributed his ideas and his portraits or images to Jesus or Christianity. Serapis, who looks just like Zeus, this is what they were putting in the temple. This is what Eliezer was fighting. All right. This is what they were trying to push on the Hebrews. Again, you can find numerous articles, scholarly books on this. Serapis, a hybrid cult during the early Christian period in Rome. All right. So many people have written about this. So what are we talking about here? When we're talking about all these pagan and Greco-Egyptian gods, and then we're talking about Jesus. What are we really talking about here? All right. And are you continuing to worship this? So today, again, I just wanted to bring a little background behind what it meant by Hellenistic beliefs and practices, religions, gods, deities. So today was a little background. And you know, all this goes back to Hermetics, goes back to Hermes, alchemy, Thoth. Right in front of you, this is what I've been trying to show you. This is where I was kind of trying to take my videos, my Thoth videos. You know, it was eventually, get into that. But, I had to take my time with it. We had to go over a whole lot of history before that. Hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. You guys can see now I can continue with the series, the Gospels of Piso, so you guys can understand what the Pisos were pushing. This is what they were pushing right here. This is what they were using to create Christianity, their deities, their beliefs, their Hermetic teachings, right? They're Hellas from hell. They're Hellas, which is Hermes, is the same. It's Horus, it's Jesus, it's Serapis, it's Mithra, it's Zeus, Jupiter. We're talking about the same thing. Dodge the hijack big time. Serapis Christus, all right? He was literally called Serapis Christus too, all right? Didn't mention that, but you can read about that. We're about to get a little deeper too, I probably got another 2 or 3 parts of the Gospels of Piso just so we can break that down fully. And then we'll get back to our regular scheduled programming. You know what I'm talking about. So I hope it's starting to become a little bit more clear. And hopefully you can see the connection with my Thoth videos and also how this connects to Egyptology. Yeah. And Hermetic, how esoteric Hermetic teachings became Pan-Africanism. All right, I did a video on this. It's called Hermetic Esoteric Pan-African Egyptology, not out of Africa. The etymology of Egypt, Kemet, and the Nile. All right, so make sure to go get this video so you can see it's all coming out of Hermetics, alchemy, which is Chem. All right, much love and respect. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for those who are here, supporting all the time. Much love and respect. Wow.